Hello, lovely people, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Talking Hospitality by the Schulering Hub. And if you are in a leadership position, chances are that sometimes, every now and then, you may think, this problem is not for me. I don't know how to solve that, and that's okay, you know? We all have some strengths and some weaknesses. And so today, I'm bringing to you Szilvia, Olah, to help us to understand what type of challenges our leaders are facing and how to navigate them. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Szilvia.
Thank you so much, Mauricio, for having me. What a lovely and lively introduction.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you here and amplify your voice. I want to, before we get to talk about leadership and about problems and challenges that our leaders have, I bet that our audience want to know and learn a little bit more about you. So please tell us who you are and how you got where you are right now.
So I'm an accidental hotelier. I got into the hotel industry 19 years ago by accident. And when I moved to London and I started my career as a waitress during the breakfast while learning English. And then I worked myself all the way up within F&B. I finished as an F&B services manager. Then I switched department, moved to rooms, and then I finished as a rooms division director, managing housekeeping and front office. And then I moved to learning and development, and I moved to the corporate office. So I left the hotel operation because at the time I was like, I don't want to see another guest, another staff. I was done with hotel operation. And then I moved to corporate office, and this is where I spent 4.5 years, and in learning and development, and then back to hotel operation and hotel openings. So I just finished my last one, and I have opened 11 hotels. I'm super proud of that.
11 hotels. That's amazing. How did you help them to open these hotels?
So how I got into it is through when I was in corporate, because what we need, they send you, go and spend a couple of weeks, 3 months, 2 months, depends really, entering the stock, prepare for the opening. So this is when you roll out or your programs or your, service culture programs, etc., and leadership programs. And then after that, I had full-on opening when I was on site. And is really putting everything in place is the best part. I love that moment when you walk into a building, there's not even light, it's just the construction crew and 5 of you from the hotel team, and there's nothing, and they tell you in 4 months you need to open that hotel. And this is what I love. This is when I come to life, I'm like, oh my God, we need structure, we need things, we need foundation, we need policies, we need training, we need to recruit, etc. This is the most magical time. It's like Christmas, it's a magical time. And once you open the door, you reshuffle, you move on to and after a year, you can let them go. Okay, guys, bye. It's all done.
That's totally awesome to hear, like that your energy, thinking about that deadline, it's also, I can feel it. You come into the hotel and seeing all that mess and thinking, like, that's me now. and Szilvia, so you work with learning and development, when you got out of the operation. Saying, how was learning and development like 5 years ago? Did it change anything since then?
So when I went in 2015, 8 years ago, the only change we have is we have LMS today. I mean, we had LMS even back then, nobody really used it. It was a very old system, not very user-friendly. And today we have a better system. Still, the uptake on online learning is not great within the hotel industry. I mean, there are so many reasons for it. First of all, 90% of our team members are not desk-based. They are operational-based. So online learning for them is an extra chore at home or on the way to work, on their mobile phone. And so that is a major, major problem. Apart from that, nothing really has changed, unfortunately, within the industry. We have a lot of work to do at property levels and at corporate levels. I think there is a disconnect in between because they are not equipped. Corporate offices are not equipped. They don't have the sufficient resources to service. Like, for example, here in Dubai, we had that time 250, 300 hotels. And you know how many we were 5 of us in corporate L&D. What can we do? 5 of us with 300 hotels, 35,000, 40,000 employees. You know, there are limitations, but I think this is where the emphasis should go back on to the properties and having very, very, very strong L&D managers, L&D director, whatever that is. Because I think I have proved in my latest opening and my last property that if you have a very strong L&D person, then learning culture you're going to build a learning culture. You are going to influence leaders from, supervisors all the way to the GM. And learning will take place in a structured way. And everybody will understand what their roles are within training the people. So basically, you are a supervisor. Whose success are you responsible for? And those are the people you need to train.
That's quite interesting that to understand also these challenges of the operational side. Yeah? And you put that a very strong point that they probably need to take their trainings on their home time, on their leisure time, and then compensate with its extra work. Yeah, do you see any way around that?
Yes. So I think online training, online learning must be during working hours. Must be during working hours, but not at the cost of my daily tasks still need to be completed. So then I still end up doing an extra hour, because this is how I used to be, when I was, just they assign you trainings, okay, but I still have the same amount of tasks. I know employees who are being sent for training after a night shift. I know employees who are doing the online course during working hours, but they have to stay behind. So the only way around this, and I will be very honest, and I've been screaming that from the rooftop for everybody. It's not difficult, and this is it's down to the leader. If your mindset as a leader, that it doesn't really matter how many hours we are staying in this building, this is how you're gonna end up. My mindset for every time, whenever I managed people, go home on time. When I had somebody scheduled for a training, those people were not allowed to change into their uniform because they immediately end up in operation. So it's down to the leader. It's not the system, it's not corporate, it's not that somebody is going to help me to figure it out. It's the manager that, hey, I'm responsible for your training and learning and development. I know that you need to complete this 1 hour course. You do that and you still go home on time. Tasks will be either cascaded to others, delegated to others, or you know what, nothing will happen if we do that tomorrow.
That would be amazing if we could get the industry behind understanding that people's time belongs to them, right?
It's not difficult. It's literally the leader's mindset. There's nothing more to it. And if you look around, I'm very vocal about the industry because I love the industry and I want it to be a better place to work. Most of the problems that we are having is down to the leaders at property level, the managers, the direct line managers. I went into argument with my GMs when he cut my stuff in front of us and he said, they're just gonna have to work few extra hours. And I asked on that meeting, I'm like, for how long? And he said, well, I'm like, no. And I sent my stuff home. And I ended up, I remember, and because I wanted to prove him right, I wanted to show him that it's not okay. And I ended up covering the afternoon shift with one receptionist and myself. And he said, what are you doing beyond the reception? I'm like, well, ask yourself, you took my stuff away.
It's tough, isn't it? I want to connect that with today, okay? Because I see you are very vocal and I love the way that you challenge leaders to think about the actions, to think about the way that they conduct their businesses and the result, what's causing to the industry, in the shortage of people, like it's all connected, right? So you work with strengths and weaknesses, make leaders, helping leaders to understand that. How do you work? Talk about a little bit about your company and a little bit how is that you help these leaders to navigate through these challenges, please.
So my company is really all about organization development. That's my craft. I redesign organizations, and part of it is really from EVP all the way to exit. So I can come in to any part of the employee's life cycle, and big chunk of it is leadership development, because I can put into any kind of policy, I can design the best thing, but if the leaders are not on board, that it's not much of a use. So in terms of the strengths, I'm a Gallup strengths coach, Clifton strengths coach. And what I do with leaders is really raising self-awareness, because this is what is missing from leadership training. We come with the frameworks, but these guys cannot connect to any kind of framework, and they have to connect to themselves. So if they understand how they work, how they operate, what are the raw talent that they are bringing to the table, and how that impact those strengths, their way of thinking and interacting and responding to the world, it changes the game. Because then I can start having conversation with them. What are the challenges that you are facing with your team? And I have really genuine conversations with them, because some of them would say, look, nobody listens to me within my team. So what do you do as a leader when nobody actually listens to you? But that's the point where you want to get with managers and leaders, when they can be really, really honest, because only then you can start solving that problem. So I guide them, and obviously within the hotel industry it's very easy for me because I also know the job. So sometimes I'm like, this is the solution. But whenever it comes to self-development in any other industries as well, is all about get to know yourself and see what you can, change and how do you deal with the world around you.
That's fantastic. And now you said something that really rung here something. And what are the challenges that the leaders today are facing? What are the main challenges that they're facing?
Well, they all facing getting the right people. So recruitment is a mess. The way we are looking for talent, the way we view talent. I'm becoming famous about my saying, because everybody says that we have talent shortage, and I keep saying we have talent blindness. We don't have talent shortage. There are plenty of talent out there. You guys just can't see them. So recruitment, getting the right people, managing and developing their people. So once I run a poll, what is your greatest problem? And managing and developing their people, which is very, very weird, and keeping them. So it's all interconnected, right? Because if you get the wrong person, you will find it really, really hard to manage and develop, and then you are going to lose that person. So let's go back to basics. How do we find the right person? Who is the right person for us? And obviously managing people, they are struggling. Managers are struggling. And why? Because L&D in large organizations, we have a robust L&D program for supervisors, leaders, and managers. However, when these guys, let's say somebody is very good in his or her job, right? Okay, now you are a team leader or a supervisor, it doesn't matter. But from tomorrow, that person's job is no longer to do that job, that particular job, but to manage people. And we expect them from one day to another. You need to delegate, you need to communicate, you need to assign tasks, and you need to lead and shepherd your team around some certain ideas. And we don't have that. And I haven't come across with the within the hotel industry who has this first-time leader, first-time manager, first-time supervisory program, because the supervisor development program that we have is very, very generic and vague. And we have studies around what are those 13, 19, 20 points, doesn't matter. that they are struggling with. So why don't we put them through a 6 months program, and only then you can, you are fantastic in your job, but now we need to prepare you to manage people because it's no longer the job. And after the 6 months program, you go. So then people they are prepared, they feel more prepared, and we just dump them over there. And that would cascade down probably to the employees as well.
And when it comes to the leadership of the companies, the ones that have already reached that leadership, what is the main, I would say, personality challenge that they are having today? Because I'm asking this because I may think that someone is out there listening to it and thinking like, yeah, but that doesn't ring with me. So like, what it is that a personality challenge that our leadership is facing?
Personality challenge. I think there are few things that the leaders are struggling with. First of all, they are scared, and that's the first one. They are so scared. They're scared to speak up. They're scared to shake the tree. They're scared to change the status quo. So we are running. If you speak to, and I know you do, one-to-one, you speak to GMs, VPs, everybody's, they tell you what are the problems. I'm like, okay. And they tell you the solutions, and nobody is doing anything. So we all know the problem and we all know the solutions. I'm like, okay, what are we waiting for? Somebody to come in and do it for us, So that's the first one. The second one is sometimes I see that with GMs, not so much with VPs, but I see that with GMs, that they say that they need help, when the help is there, they are rejecting it. Because they are maybe sometimes, I don't really know, I can't speak for all of them. Sometimes they are scared to admit, or maybe ashamed, or maybe how they will be perceived. Vulnerability is not something that comes really naturally to these guys. And they are not very good at admitting the help that they need, and then obviously accepting that. So that is, and also with GM levels, the development is really, really, it's, they reach that level. And I think that's the industry. We need to figure it out. We haven't figured, and I don't have the solution, but it's a massive problem. And I saw that in corporate office, because you have 400 GMs and everybody wants to move and develop and grow. But as you go up, the positions disappearing. There is one position and you have 400 GMs. And these GMs are so bored because they reached their potential. That's done. There's no more further up. And what do we do with them? So then you, at the very bottom of your, just right before the bottom, you have a layer within the organizations who have been doing the same job for 20 years, 10 years. It's like reading the same book over and over again. And how do you motivate them? How do you develop? What do you develop them into? And that's I think it's a massive problem for the industry.
True. That's a very good point of that, reaching that ceiling, right? And I believe that the industry is changing very fast. So actually trying to keep up with how people are changing would be a good challenge, because I think that's a challenge for everybody in the end of the day. But you made a very good point of that stagnation of what do I do now, right? What do I do now? And one question before we jump a little bit to our future here, but one question is, for these leaders that are a little bit scared or afraid to speak up, that are in that uncomfortable position that I don't want to be vulnerable because maybe people think that I'm not in the right position, I shouldn't be here if I were, what would you say to them?
It's not to them. I think it's the organization, that we have created an environment where there is no psychological safety and people are scared to speak up. It's not the individual. If I'm afraid of telling you something, it's not me. It could be that it's me, it's just in my head. It could be. And there are examples for that. But what kind of environment have we created where people are scared to tell you or to be vulnerable? So that would be my first question at organizational level, at policies, at culture, and things the way we do things.
Amazing answer, thank you. Now let's jump and visualize the future. Okay, you told me once, or I read you saying it once, I don't know if it was a direct conversation, and you said the gig economy is the future of hospitality, and I got curious about it. Yeah. I have a similar idea, but I want to hear from you. What do you mean by that?
I was very happy last year. I think it was last year. My CEO, everybody knows I'm in love with him. I love him. He's a very open-minded and very up-to-date guy. You know, he's in his 50s, maybe even his 60s. I don't even know. But his mind is like 20 years old. And I was so happy when there was a massive worldwide conference and he was saying to everybody, guys, be ready. Your staff don't want to work full-time, 5 days a week. They are going to work for you 3 days, and the other 2 days they're gonna go and do something else, or they're gonna work for other people, you know, other in a restaurant, doesn't matter. But even before, I already knew that. Why? Because we have to start, instead of, you know, we say talent shortage, okay, fantastic, but we don't change the direction. And maybe the talent shortage, some of the talent shortage is also because we are trying to apply the same recipe to a new problem and to new mindset. So you have a new generation of people. They don't want to do the same hours as we do. And so that gig economy would solve so much of our problem, because you don't need the stable staff in every single position in the hotel, you know? Also for part-time jobs, I guarantee you we can part-time a lot of the back office work, you know, in hotel operation, and even in the front of house work. So I think gig economy will come into the picture, because we just won't be able to keep and get the supply of full-time talent at the rate that we need. Hotel companies are expanding like crazy. My company will open 1,000 hotels in the next 3 years. Where do we get the people from? So, especially in the West, in Europe and in the States, it started to happen. People are, you know, and it's not a new concept for us, because we've been outsourcing housekeeping forever. It's nothing new. It's been always there, but we always outsourced full time, you know? So let's do the same thing, but now with flexible timing, maybe part-time, maybe just 2 days a week. And we also outsource banqueting stuff. I remember when in Hilton, you know, Novotel Hammersmith, a massive banqueting operation. We had hundreds of people coming in when we had massive functions. There is nothing new. It's just we need to look at, okay, what are we doing here?
We keep trying to adapt the new generation to us, the way that we do things. Instead of looking and thinking like maybe we should start to adapt to them, you know, like it's just a way of seeing things.
But they are going to change the workforce, trust me. And I have big hope for these guys coming into the workforce. And because we are not changing their mindset, they run away. They run away, and we are not changing anything. We're gonna have to start changing the way we work, because, and you know what, the market will teach us. Because the moment in London, I have a GM friend, he needs to shut down the restaurant on certain days. He doesn't have a staff. I'm like, okay, so when are you, because I had this conversation with him, I'm like, so when are you going to open up the possibilities that you are going to hire 2 people on every Friday?
Do you hear anything about the problem of trust? Because this is what I hear when I speak about that. I hear a lot about the word like, how can we trust them? Is that something that you hear, or they are just like never thought about another way of doing things?
I have not heard that, but I can imagine, because I have heard that with our interns. For example, when I have interns and coming, how can I trust with the cashier? I'm like, what are they going to do? Run away with it? You know, it's not a trust issue. What I would say, what could be a problem, or more challenging, not a problem, is how do we train those people who come into our industry or to our hotels maybe twice a week, right? To the level of standards that we would like to see in our operation and to be delivered, because that's more difficult, right? Yep. But we don't need to overcomplicate it. You literally, you look at what, it's a receptionist, fantastic, lovely, you are here twice a week. These are the things accelerated training. Somebody will be with you a little bit longer. And all you have to do is that. People are very smart, very quickly learn these very basic skills, and then they can just, I had, here to London, Kensington, we had part-time people, and we loved them. And they were performing the same way as my full-time receptionist.
One last question now is a dreamy. Let's dream about it. Okay. 5-10 years from now, how hospitality will look like?
I just stay the way we are today. I swear to God. It can go two ways only. We either stay the same way as we are today, or there will be a radical change that we have never even expected. That's how I see. I don't see a gentle, movement towards. It's either where we are exactly today, or something, the complete overhaul of the system. And that's just because of the volume of hotels that we are opening. And it's going to require a different approach.
It is amazing. Yeah, it is. I like to ask this question because it's tough. Like before, I think that was an easier question to ask about 15 years ago. If you asked what's going to happen in 5 years, people would be more secure and safe to say what they think. And today things change so fast, and the pace is so fast, and our industry in such a balance point that we don't know where we fall into, that it's everyone thinking like, oh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one.
But you know what, I really hope that one day we all wake up and there will be, okay, the hospitality industry is changing. We have flexible working, we have gig economy, we have this, we have that, we have, we have sorted out the long working hours, the overtime, we have sorted out the labor, the wages, the salaries and all that kind of, but let's just sort out the working hours, because I truly believe, Mauricio, that maybe the salaries are not even, everybody says we are not paid very well, right? And you know what, we are not paid very well if I have to work every day 12 hours, but if I have to work every day 8 hours, maybe that pay is sufficient.
Very, very, very true. Szilvia, that was a pleasure to speak to you. Please, how can people contact you, talk to you, hire you, learn from you?
My company is The Strengths Company, and the email is info@thestrengthscompany.com, and or they can reach out to you and you can contact them, get them in touch with me. And yes, thank you so much for having me. Let's change the hospitality, because it's a fantastic industry, but we have a lot to work on.
Thank you very much, Szilvia. It was a pleasure to chat to you. You have such a great energy and love that talk. And I will put all your contacts in our chat as well, so people can just click. But of course, you can all contact me or contact Szilvia on LinkedIn as well. Follow her if you have the chance, because she has amazing comments, amazing posts. I really love reading your things. Your videos are really entertaining. So thank you very much for what you do. And
thank you.
I hope to change the industry with you. Thank you very much, Szilvia.
Thank you, Mauricio. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.